Hi, everybody. My name's Kate Billings. I'm the Director of Communications and Member Services for the New Hampshire Golf Association. As we prepare for courses in New Hampshire to open on May 11th, we're conducting a little interview series to gain different perspectives from people in the golf industry in New Hampshire. So right now I'm joined by NHGA Executive Director Matt Schmidt. Matt, thanks for joining.
Of course.
And then we also have Scott Peters here to give us a golfer perspective. So Scott, we know that you've been playing a little bit of golf down in Florida. We're a little bit jealous of that. So I'll just dive right in. What are some of the restrictions that you've seen down in Florida that have been promoting proper social distancing?
Well, first of all, hey, you guys, great to see you. It's been a challenging, 50 days for all of us. So nice to see some smiley, friendly faces that aren't stuck at One Thompson Terrace here in Hanover. But anyway, it's interesting. I didn't know what to expect when we got to our club in Florida, and it was amazingly easy, amazingly simple, and in many ways, the new normal is going to be not a huge issue. In many ways, I would tell you that the things that might be a challenge to some folks will be things that aren't necessarily even on the golf course. Like the gathering before, the gathering after, and things like that. But the golf, it was kind of funny. You'll get a kick out of this as a sort of humorous anecdote. Amy and I have been stuck together for how many days here? And so as soon as we get to the course, they put us in separate carts. So I thought that was kind of funny. At first, we thought it was weird, and then we came to realize it probably saved our marriage. But anyway.
Especially on the golf course, right?
Right. So it's kind of funny that we're stuck together for those many days, and you get to the course and you get in separate carts. But, obviously, all the stuff. There's no rakes. When you're on the golf course, quite honestly, you're really rarely within 6 feet of people anyway, for the most part. So that's kind of a non-issue. For someone who's never liked the flag in, for me personally, that's something that's going to take some time to get used to. Although jokingly, I would tell you, it didn't seem to be in the way as much as I had hoped it was. But, when you're standing there with a 10-foot birdie putt and the wind's howling and the flag's flapping in your line and stuff, just little things like that are more bothersome than anything. But
so were you guys raised cups, or did you do the pool noodle? What did your course down there do?
So they had it where you still put it in the hole, but the bottom of the cup was raised.
Gotcha. Yep.
So it went in, as opposed to I've seen other places where the cup's literally outside and you just hit it. The ball actually would go in, but it was in so shallow, if you will, that it was you could easily get to it without touching anything.
Yeah.
So.
And Florida has stayed open for the duration, right? They never
it's
closed
interesting,
golf
Matt.
courses.
Our condominiums in Palm Beach Gardens, which is technically Palm Beach County, and then Meadows, where we play, is in Martin County. So what's interesting is Palm Beach County falls under the governor's guidelines. Martin County did not. So courses in Martin County were open, and courses in Palm Beach County were closed, which I thought was odd. So many places were shut down. There were very few courses that were actually open and available to be played. But so most everything, it is very similar to New Hampshire in the sense that everything's shut down.
Yeah.
There's no restaurants. Even no beaches. A beautiful sunny day, you can't go to the beach, which seems a little odd, but whatever. So in many ways, you felt like you were still quarantined, except for those couple hours where you could sneak out on the golf course. And quite honestly, it was therapeutic. It was great. It was nice to be outside. My wife, who's been a little bit more, I'll go with the word concerned about this than I have been. Not that I haven't been concerned, but she's been very vigilant about it. She found it to be incredibly safe to be on the golf course and comfortable. And in fact, felt like in many ways it's one of the safest places we've been.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. And I know you and I talked yesterday, and I mentioned at some point here trying to get out, and you said to me the same thing, how therapeutic it actually is. But my folks live down in Georgia, and they've been open. And my dad has said the same thing, that he feels as safe as anywhere on the golf course. And I've made a couple comments recently to people that, I have to give a lot of credit to the industry as a whole, because if golf wasn't safe in these places where golf courses were still open, we wouldn't be opening on Monday. And I think the industry has done a really good job of proving that this can be done safely and responsibly, even without, I think, some of the things that you mentioned, the social aspect of golf, which I think in a lot of ways is what drives us all towards the game, is the social aspect of it. Even without that, just being able to get on the golf course and doing it in a way that's safe and not feeling like you're putting yourself or anybody who works at the golf course at risk, I think it did nothing but ultimately help our case. Yes, we were one of the last states to open, but I that was a point that we made to the state, right? If this is not a safe activity, it wouldn't be allowed to be happening in all these other states at this point.
Well, and more than that, you wouldn't want to participate, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the bottom line is you need to create an atmosphere. And, we're dealing with that this week, getting golf and ski ready to go. But, in many ways, it's not only the right and responsible and morally responsible thing to do, but it's just plain good business. You need to create an atmosphere where not only your employees, but customers are feeling safe and comfortable. And if you don't do that, quite honestly, you're only going to be hurting yourself. And so it's really just a good business practice as well.
Yeah.
So Scott, I know you've seen some of the restrictions here in New Hampshire. They are a little bit different from Florida. They are kind of varying state to state, but how do you feel about the certain restrictions specific to New Hampshire?
So I guess, help me, I'm not sure how dramatically different some of them are. I mean, I think, it's interesting. In Florida, we tend to take carts. And in New Hampshire, I most walk predominantly. And so there's one big difference, and maybe a benefit in the sense of I won't be touching things that other people have been touching, if you will. I mean, obviously the no driving range / no putting green, I think that's going to be a bit of a challenge for folks, especially for those who haven't played since last fall. You're not going to be able to take a practice swing or hit a practice shot before you go out to the first tee. That'll be interesting, more from a playability standpoint. But I think that people like their routines of going to hit a couple of balls before they play, go to hit a few putts before they play. So I think that'll be a little bit of a challenge. And then, needless to say, I don't think the on-course stuff is going to be hard for anyone. I really don't. I don't see that as being difficult. I almost view the things as before and after are going to be more challenging. One thing that I was always, to me, part of the game, not only before you tee off, but when you finish, the handshake. For me, the handshake has always been part of the game, as silly as that may sound. It's odd when you finish a round of golf to not shake somebody's hand as you've always done. So that's different. And then the 19th hole and the gathering afterwards obviously is less than ideal at this point. But given the option of playing and not gathering afterwards or not playing at all, it's an easy decision. And so to me, the before and afterwards stuff may be more challenging than the actual golf playing. So that's sort of the things that stood out to me.
Yeah, it seems weird that now to think about the on-course experience and how different you feel like it's going to be. But I think to your point, once people get out there, maybe we'll be more cognizant of how little or often we actually hit it into a bunker with no rake, right? Because, you're just, all of these things that we've been conditioned to do, you're in a bunker, you go look for the rake's not there. You just deal with it. And
Sure.
There'll be rounds where you don't think about it, right? Because maybe you only hit it in one bunker on the first hole and you're not in a bunker the rest of the time. So
Are we doing preferred lies, I assume? Is that what is expected?
Yep.
As far as in the bunker?
Yep. Lift, clean, and place in the bunker is what we'll do for the foreseeable future. So I sort of tend to agree with you. It feels like once we're all back out there and playing, the experience itself from a golf standpoint, it's not going to be that much different. It's all those other ancillary things that I think people we'll have to get used to. And again, I think to your point that the club's doing everything that they can to make sure that people are recognizing the social distancing policies and procedures that are in place, because they're there for a reason. And one of the things that we've tried to impart on people is don't be selfish, follow the rules. They're there for a reason. And we want to make sure that one of the points we've made is, look, if we can show people that this can be done safely and responsibly, that we're uniquely positioned. And this kind of transitions into another question about the game itself. But, you know, golf is sort of uniquely placed, even if things get worse in the fall, that our game can be done outdoors safely, social distancing. And if people are vigilant about this out there and taking it seriously, I think it sets the game up to not be one of those businesses that may have to be shut down again if we get to that point.
Well, you know, and I totally agree. And yet it's hard not to acknowledge that we're in this thing together, right? And you know, you and me and Kate, we follow the rules, but Joe Smith and the foursome in front of us doesn't. We're only as good as Joe Smith's behavior, right? Yep. And so I think, you know, that's going to be maybe a challenge. It's one thing I haven't thought about, is that what do you do when you see somebody who may be doing something that, quite honestly, jeopardizes the opportunity to play this great game for all of us? That will be perhaps something that I haven't had to deal with yet, because I've not seen it when I was in Florida. You know, I didn't see people doing things you shouldn't be doing. But I only assume as you get out to more public golf courses that you might see some of those things. And we're only as good as that lowest common denominator, if you will. And so that maybe that's a little bit of a concern in how we deal and handle with that. But, you know, the reality is we're all in this thing together. We all guidelines and are diligent about it, then I think it can only be a positive, and it can only be, to your point, really good for the game, and something that in many ways can be held up and say, see, look, we can do this thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I know the answer, but when will be your first round of golf in New Hampshire?
Yeah. Are we allowed to play today?
Not yet.
Okay, so then it'll be Monday afternoon. We have a group of 8 of us headed to Lake Sunapee Country Club. Got a 2 and a 2:10 tee time, and we're very much looking forward to getting together.
Good for you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this question, but give us a little bit of your feelings on the news at a Hanover Country Club a couple weeks ago, with the club being closed for
I'll move this ever
year.
so slightly. That right? How do I get this thing here? Anyway, there it is. Oh, there. That right there. That's my sister-in-law did a photo, took a photo, and then painted a picture. So you can't see with her skylight, but that's Hanover Country Club's first hole in the clubhouse and stuff. And you know, Matt, I have all kinds of emotions. Some of them, you know, are great memories. Some of them are certainly frustration and disappointment. You know, when you grow up on a golf course, you know, I'm 58 years old. I've been playing Hanover Country Club since I was a wee lad, right? And so I've been there for over 50 years. And, you know, I tell people, you know, Hanover Country Club isn't the greatest course, but it's my home course. It's my course. So for me, while understanding it's not the greatest, it's still my home. And so I'm heartbroken, to be honest with you. I have a lot of emotions about whether they should have done it or not. I obviously think it was a poor decision. But I'm really heartbroken for me and my wife and my kids who love the place, and for this community that, quite honestly, needs and wants Hanover Country Club to be there. And I'm very disappointed with Dartmouth's decision. I think you know that Dartmouth has been threatening to close the club over the last couple of years, and unfortunately, I think that I have very real concerns and fears that we will ever play another hole of golf at Hanover Country Club.
Yeah. Well, I was contacted by the Valley News when it happened, and the first question that they asked me was, you know, how has this impacted the tournaments that we had scheduled there? We had 3 events scheduled at Hanover. And my initial response was, no, I'm not thinking about our events. We'll find golf courses to host our events. My concern or initial feeling was sadness for the golf community up there, and how much that little golf course meant to the golf community in and around Hanover, and just how well we were treated every time that we went there. It was a joy for us to hold events at Hanover. Great relationships with the entire staff, from the guys in the shop down to the maintenance crew, especially with the club hosting the state am back in 2017, I think that was,
yeah,
and
yeah.
really helped us out of a tough spot when
Right.
North Conway wasn't able to host because of some of the damage that they sustained. So we share that sentiment. It's disappointing, to be sure, to see that happen to any of our clubs, and certainly I think our biggest fear through all of this with the 6-week shutdown has been what's going to happen to other clubs or to the industry within the state. And we don't want to see golf courses have to close their doors because of this. So to hear that happen at Hanover was certainly disappointing for us as well.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I must say that there really has been a wonderful history and tradition from Hanover. And there's been a lot of really, very good golfers that have come through there. You think about the Rich Parkers and the Jeff Julians, who were professionals and played out there. But Peter Williamson was an exceptional player come out of Hanover. And Nick McDonald's a great player. I mean, there you go through the list. So, I know we're north of Concord and sort of stuck in this little northern New Hampshire sort of place. But the reality is we love golf just as much as anywhere else, and when something like this gets taken away from you, it's disappointing. And I'm sure we'll all make our adjustments and find our places to play. But it's hard to replace your home course.
Yep, I get it.
So switching gears slightly, Scott, you mentioned golf and ski a little bit ago. What are the changes you guys are making to the stores to prepare for opening?
Yeah, significant, right? I mean, just as we were referencing the guidelines that they're using for the golf courses, we need to recognize and understand that we need to create that safe environment for our employees and our customers. And, we closed golf and ski before we were told to, because we felt like we needed to be safe for our employees and our customers. And so we responded and recognized it early. We're thrilled that we're getting the green light on Monday to reopen. We certainly are going through a number of things. Obviously, we're going to have masks and gloves and lots of signage and disinfectant and all those kinds of things. And so we're going to try really hard to create an atmosphere that both our employees and our customers feel comfortable in. And, I think we're a little bit fortunate that our stores are a little bit bigger. And so you don't feel like, I have a dear friend who has a convenience store, and I went in the other day and boy, I felt uncomfortable in there. And not because of anything he was doing, but because of the closeness, the proximity of everything. And so I think if there's a little bit of a benefit we have is that we've got a little bit larger store. And so you don't feel like necessarily anyone's going to be on top of you. And so, we're certainly creating restrictions, guidelines, and going through all the proper steps that again will hopefully allow not only our employees but our customers to walk in there, feel safe, feel comfortable, and have an enjoyable experience.
Good. Matt, do you have any other questions for Scott?
I don't think so. And thanks for taking the time, Scott. We appreciate it. We think this is going to be helpful as we continue to try to educate folks for what's coming in 72 hours or so as we get ready to open. So we appreciate you taking the time and certainly enjoy your first round out there on Monday. We'll be eager to hear about it.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Always great catching up. I think the bottom line is if we're smart and we're safe and we're responsible at what we do, we can all just enjoy this great game and hopefully we won't have to suffer any setbacks. So looking forward to Monday, as I'm sure you guys are. And by the way, I mentioned you yesterday, Matt, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say to Kate as well, you guys, NHGA did a great job in helping and guiding us through these tough times, and the leadership you guys provided was invaluable, and we're all very fortunate to have you guys there to help us get this thing going. So thanks very much.
We appreciate that. It's been a team effort to be sure.
Cool. All right, best you guys. See
Thanks,
you
guys.
soon.
Stay safe.
Thank you.